It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Niccolò Machiavelli. Picture this. It's 7:45 a.m. The office is already humming with fake smiles and carefully rehearsed laughter. A young man, let's call him Daniel, slips quietly to his desk. He's early, as always. His shirt is pressed, his tasks neatly organized. He believes in the script we were all taught. Be nice, work hard, don't make trouble, and good things will come. Daniel works late nights. He helps colleagues without asking for credit. He volunteers for the projects no one wants. He believes almost religiously that the system will recognize his sacrifice. Now imagine the day the big promotion is announced. Everyone gathers. Daniel's heart is pounding. He knows, he deserves it. But when the boss speaks, the name called isn't his. It's the smooth-talking opportunist, the one who barely worked but always said the right things to the right people. Daniel claps politely, his smile brittle. Inside something breaks, and here's the gut punch. Daniel is not unique. He is a mirror of countless ambitious but naive people. I know because once upon a time, I was Daniel. I believed in the fairy tale. Study hard, be good, be patient, stay humble. Success will find you. But what I got instead was invisibility. The harder I worked, the easier I was to use. The more I gave, the more I was overlooked. I became predictable. And in the world of mirror, predictability is weakness. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. If you are not shaping the game, you are being shaped by it. Let's be brutally honest. From childhood, we are trained to obey. Raise your hand before speaking. Wait for permission. Follow instructions. Don't question the teacher. Don't question the boss. Don't question the system. School doesn't prepare you for freedom. It prepares you for control. It molds you into someone who can be managed, a cog. And cogs don't rise to the top. They spin endlessly until they wear out. This training flows seamlessly into adulthood. Work, pay bills, sit quietly in traffic. Buy things to numb the emptiness. Stream shows to fill the silence. Then wake up and repeat. It feels safe, predictable, comfortable. But comfort is a golden cage. Why does your boss give you just enough to stay, but never enough to leave? Why does society flood you with distractions? Endless content, easy credit, dopamine on demand. Because a distracted, comfortable person won't rebel, won't question, won't risk. Comfort isn't kindness. Comfort is a leash. Ask yourself honestly, have you ever trusted the wrong person and regretted it? Have you ever watched someone less talented leapfrog you because they were more cunning? Have you ever felt invisible even after doing everything right? If yes, then you've already tasted the truth. The world does not reward virtue, it rewards strategy. And here comes your first test. What would you do? You're offered two paths. Path of comfort, stay loyal, work hard, stay predictable. No enemies, no risks, but no breakthroughs either. Path of power. Learn how the game is actually played. Risk betrayal. Risk being called ruthless. But gain the tools to never be invisible again. Which path would you choose? Think carefully. Because your answer decides if you remain Daniel, or if you start transforming into something stronger. Life isn't a classroom. It's not even a marketplace. Life is a theater of war. Not with swords and guns, but with whispers, favors, and betrayals. Imagine walking into the office like a knight entering an arena. Everyone smiles, but behind those smiles are daggers. Everyone claps, but their eyes are weighing you, measuring you, wondering when they can move ahead at your expense. If you don't see the daggers, you are already bleeding. I used to think kindness was my shield, that if I treated people well, they'd treat me well. But kindness without strength isn't a shield. It's bait. It invites manipulation. It attracts users. It makes you a safe target because they know you won't bite back. Machiavelli wrote, Men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, covetous. He wasn't being cruel, he was being honest. If you build your life assuming people will always be grateful and loyal, you're setting yourself up for devastation. Imagine your closest colleague, the one you trust most, suddenly takes credit for your work in a meeting. Your boss praises them, not you. Everyone believes the lie. Do you? Confront them in public, risking looking petty, stay silent, hoping the truth will come out. Or quietly start building leverage to ensure next time betrayal comes at a cost. What would you do? Here's the first Machiavellian lesson. Stop expecting the system to be fair. Power doesn't play by your moral rules. It plays by its own logic, and it rewards those who understand it. This doesn't mean you abandon kindness. It means you arm it. Kindness is powerful only when it's chosen from strength, not when it's your only option. So here's the dilemma you must face right now. What if the only way to stay kind is to become strong first? Strength protects kindness. Weakness destroys it. And if you cannot accept that, then you will keep clapping like Daniel, watching others rise while you wait in silence for fairness that never comes. This is the first cut, the shattering of the illusion, the recognition that the script you were sold was never designed to make you free. But things get darker, because in part 2, we will dive deeper into the machinery that keeps you predictable. We will expose the subtle manipulations, the invisible chains, and the sweet poison of comfort that ensures most people stay trapped forever. The knives are being sharpened. The question is, will you see them before they pierce? Men are so simple, and so much creatures of circumstance, that he who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. Niccolò Machiavelli. Your phone buzzes at 2:13 a.m. It's a text from a colleague. Don't come to the office tomorrow. Things are about to get messy. Your heart drops. You scroll through your emails. Whispers of restructuring. A project suddenly reassigned. Meetings canceled. By the time the sun rises, the truth is clear. Decisions have been made in rooms you were never invited into. You thought loyalty, effort, and honesty would protect you, but in one night, the illusion shatters. The first time I realized how easily I could be cut out of the game, it felt like being pushed off a stage mid-performance. One day I was the star player. The next, I was irrelevant. I learned the hard way. People don't have to attack you openly to erase you. Sometimes all it takes is silence, a closed door, and your name not being mentioned. And that's when I remembered Machiavelli's cold truth. People allow themselves to be deceived because they want to believe the story is fair. Manipulation works because it doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels like normal life. Advertising doesn't scream, "You're insecure." It whispers, "This car proves your success." Politics doesn't say, "We're exploiting you." It warns, "Without us, your enemies will destroy you." Relationships don't always say, "Obey me." They hint, "If you loved me, you'd do this." Every chain is wrapped in velvet. Every leash feels like comfort. Comfort is the most seductive weapon ever invented. Think about it. Why does your company give you just enough money to stay, but never enough to leave? Why does society offer endless entertainment, but no true empowerment? Because comfort pacifies. Comfort makes you predictable. Comfort makes you docile. It's like a glass of poisoned wine. Sweet at first sip, but lethal in the long run. Imagine you've been offered a raise. Not enough to change your life, but just enough to keep you quiet. Do you? Accept it, enjoy the short-term comfort, and stay chained? Refuse, risking conflict, but demanding more. Or quietly take the money while building something of your own on the side. What would you do? Not long ago, a young startup founder was celebrated as the visionary behind a booming company. He trusted his co-founders like brothers. But once millions in venture capital flowed in, those same brothers voted him out. He went from CEO to unemployed overnight. Why? Because money shifted the balance of loyalty. Machiavelli would have smiled grimly. Loyalty exists only while it serves interest. When interests change, so does loyalty. The most dangerous chains are not made of iron, they are made of habits. The daily commute, the paycheck cycle, the subscription auto payments, the scrolling that numbs your evenings. These chains don't lock you in a dungeon, they lock you in plain sight. And worst of all, you clasp them on yourself. Suppose tomorrow your boss offers you a long-term contract. On the surface, it looks like security, but the fine print ties you down, reduces your flexibility, and prevents you from building anything outside. Do you sign immediately, grateful for stability? Refuse, risking unemployment but keeping your freedom? Or sign, while secretly planning your exit strategy? What would you do? History is full of rulers toppled not by enemies, but by allies. In recent years, we've watched presidents, prime ministers, even CEOs betrayed from within. Those who once pledged loyalty suddenly turned cold, calculating that it was more profitable to switch sides. Machiavelli captured it perfectly. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. The betrayal didn't come from outsiders. It came from those closest, because they knew the secrets, the weaknesses, the cracks in the armor. Here's the problem. When you first see this game, you recoil. You tell yourself, I don't want to play like that. I'll stick to honesty and goodness. But morality, when defined by others, becomes another tool of manipulation. If you were a loyal employee, you'd do this. If you really loved me, you wouldn't question me. If you were a good person, you'd sacrifice for me. See it for what it is, morality weaponized. Your closest friend comes to you with a request to cover for them at work, to take the fall for their mistake, to keep silent about something that could harm you but save them. Do you agree because you don't want to lose the friendship? Refuse and risk being called selfish or disloyal? Or agree outwardly, while preparing quietly to protect yourself if they betray you? What would you do? Imagine comfort as a velvet theater seat. You sink into it, warm, soft, pleasant. The lights dim, you feel safe, entertained, content. But then you realize the show isn't for your benefit. It's a distraction. Behind the curtain, your real future is being auctioned off. You clap at the performance while your freedom slips quietly into someone else's pocket. That is how comfort kills. I once thought I could outwork manipulation, that if I just doubled down on effort, the truth would shine through. But the truth never shines through by itself. It has to be projected, controlled, shaped, framed. And those who control appearances always win over those who rely on reality alone. That's the shattering of the illusion. The world is not built on fairness. It is built on perception, manipulation, and control. But what I didn't realize at the time was that betrayal wasn't waiting in some distant future. It was already moving quietly around me. Not from an enemy, but from someone much closer than I ever imagined. And when it struck, it almost destroyed me. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken, a necessity of the present. Niccolò Machiavelli. It was a Tuesday morning, bright, ordinary, nothing unusual. I walked into the office and a colleague greeted me with a smile. We shared a joke about the coffee being terrible, and for a moment I felt at ease. But an hour later I learned he had spent the weekend whispering to the boss that I was overwhelmed, that I was struggling to deliver. He didn't stab me in the back. He smiled at me while pressing the knife slowly in. That's when it hit me. Betrayal doesn't announce itself. It hides in routine, in small talk, in familiar faces. By now, you've already seen the illusion crumble. Now it's time to face the battlefield for what it is. Not a battlefield of swords, but of pauses that make you doubt yourself. Smiles that hide agendas. Promises that expire the moment they stop serving someone's interests. Every room you walk into, office, family gathering, political debate, even a relationship, is a silent battlefield of minds. And if you don't know the rules, you're not neutral. You're prey. I once worked under a director who never raised his voice. He didn't need to. He used silence like a blade. He would stare across the table just long enough to make people squirm, drop half-finished sentences like landmines. Interesting. We'll see if this approach lasts. He never told you outright you were failing. He made you doubt yourself until you did the damage on his behalf. Machiavelli warned that a ruler must appear humane while being ruthless underneath. This man embodied it. His calm demeanor was a mask. His silence was a weapon, and fear did the rest. Picture yourself stepping into an arena. Everyone is wearing masks, smiling masks, friendly masks. But behind those masks are daggers. The applause isn't for your success, it's for the moment you stumble. Because in the Colosseum of life, the crowd doesn't want heroes, they want blood. And don't think this battlefield is limited to the office. The family is often the first arena of manipulation. Parents using guilt, after everything we've done for you. Siblings turning inheritance into a chess match. Partners invoking loyalty not as love, but as leverage. We like to believe love is pure, untouched by power, but beneath every relationship is a negotiation. Who gives, who receives, who holds the invisible leverage. And if you deny that, you don't escape it. You just lose the negotiation. Your sibling asks you to temporarily give up your claim on an inheritance,
promising they'll make it right later. You know they're persuasive and the family is watching. Do you agree for the sake of peace, refuse and risk being labeled selfish, or agree outwardly, while preparing your own leverage to ensure you're not erased? What would you do? This is where most people fail. When faced with manipulation, they retreat into morality. They cling harder to honesty, to loyalty, to rising above. They tell themselves, if I stay true to my values, I'll win in the end. But ask yourself, how often has someone used morality not to uplift you, but to bind you? If you were a good friend, you'd do this for me. If you really loved me, you wouldn't question me. A loyal employee doesn't complain. Morality can be a leash. And if you don't see it, you're already collared. Machiavelli understood this. He warned that a ruler who always keeps his word will be destroyed by those who don't. In recent years, we've seen world leaders betrayed not by their enemies, but by their allies. Cabinet members turning, advisors leaking secrets, friends plotting in back rooms. The betrayal was not an accident, it was strategy. When the balance of power shifted, loyalty evaporated. Machiavelli wrote it clearly. The promise of yesterday is irrelevant when survival demands its breaking today. I used to think betrayal was rare, that it was the exception, the horror story. But then I experienced it up close. A friend I trusted leaked private information about me to gain favor with others. The sting wasn't just the betrayal. It was realizing I had handed them the knife by confiding in them. I had believed in loyalty. They had believed in opportunity, and opportunity won. A colleague offers to share insider information with you, something that could boost your career. But you know the cost. If they betray their friend to help you, they could betray you tomorrow. Do you accept telling yourself you'll be smarter? Refuse holding to principle but losing the advantage? Or accept while setting up safeguards in case they turn on you? What would you do? The first time you're betrayed, it shatters you. But the deeper pain is this: realizing your loyalty was the weapon used against you. And here's the truth you must accept. Betrayal is not an exception. It is inevitable. The question isn't if, it's when. And the only way to survive is to anticipate it, prepare for it, and strike first when necessary. Think of every interaction as a room full of invisible knives. Some are hanging above your head,
Some are tucked in sleeves. Some are hidden in the smiles of people who say they care. You may not see them today, but tomorrow one will fall, and if you don't prepare, it will pierce your back before you even know it's there. You overhear your boss being fed lies about you by someone you trusted. You have no proof, only suspicion. Do you confront them directly, risking escalation? Stay silent, hoping your reputation protects you, or begin quietly undermining their influence before it's too late? What would you do? So far, we've ripped away illusions and stepped onto the battlefield. We've seen how manipulation operates. Through silence, smiles, morality turned into chains. But this is only pressure building. The real blow hasn't landed yet, because the worst betrayal isn't from strangers or enemies. It comes from the people closest to you, the ones you swore you could trust. And that's where the story turns. I thought betrayal would come from an enemy. I was wrong. It came from the person I trusted most, and it nearly destroyed me. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Niccolò Machiavelli. It was a Friday evening. The project I had poured months into was finally complete. I felt a surge of pride as I entered the conference room. My manager clapped me on the shoulder. "Tonight we celebrate." Wine flowed, laughter echoed, compliments were tossed like confetti. For a brief moment, I believed I had made it, but as the speeches began, my stomach turned to ice. My work, my long nights, my sacrifice, was being credited entirely to someone else, a colleague I had trusted. He smiled at me across the table, glass raised, as if toasting my silence. It wasn't just theft, it was erasure. And the cruelest part? Everyone clapped. They believed the lie. Betrayal doesn't strike all at once. It's a sequence. Before. The whispers, the secret alliances, the small omissions. During. The moment of exposure, when your trust is twisted into your downfall. After. The silence. People avoid eye contact. They know, but they won't intervene. You sit at the banquet table, drinking poisoned wine. You don't die immediately. You watch the room applaud while your reputation burns. That night, I went home and stared at the ceiling until dawn. Rage burned in my chest, not just at him, but at myself. Because deep down, I had seen the signs. The flattery too sweet, the questions too probing, the sudden eagerness to help with my work. I had ignored it because I didn't want to believe someone close could be preparing the knife. Machiavelli was right. Appearances are everything, and I had been blinded by them. Imagine your closest ally takes public credit for your work. The promotion, the praise, the spotlight, all stolen. Do you call them out immediately, risking being seen as bitter? Stay silent, waiting for truth to surface, though it may never? Or begin plotting quietly, building evidence, preparing to strike back when it matters most? What would you do? Consider the influencer whose trusted manager leaked financial records, exposing shady sponsorship deals. Overnight, millions of followers vanished. The manager didn't just betray, he annihilated. Why? Envy, opportunity, a chance to grab power. It mirrors the Machiavellian law. People love as they wish, but they fear as you make them. Once the influencer stopped inspiring fear, he was fair game. History offers countless examples.
Julius Caesar wasn't struck down by foreign enemies, but by his own Senate, men who once praised him as savior. Modern politics is no different. Leaders are overthrown not by the opposition, but by their inner circle. Allies who sense weakness become executioners. Machiavelli warned rulers to guard against flatterers and to keep allies in check. The moment you appear too secure, you invite betrayal. Why does betrayal sting more than open hostility? Because betrayal forces you to question your own judgment. If you can't trust those closest, can you trust yourself? And once self-trust cracks, you're paralyzed. You hesitate, you second guess, you lose the sharpness that power demands. Betrayal doesn't just wound you externally, it hollows you internally. Betrayal is not a sword to the chest, it is a banquet toast with poisoned wine. You raise your glass, smiling. You drink. And only as the burning begins do you realize the betrayal was planned long before the feast. This is why betrayal devastates, because it's staged as celebration. Imagine discovering your business partner has been secretly siphoning profits. By the time you find out, the money is gone, the investors believe them, and you look like the liar. Do you? Confront them head-on, risking total collapse? Stay quiet, trying to rebuild slowly while pretending nothing happened? Or strike back with their own tactics, using perception, influence, and alliances to turn the tables? What would you do? After my own betrayal, I had two choices: collapse or adapt. For days I considered quitting. I wondered if perhaps being too nice had doomed me from the start. But then I realized quitting would only prove them right. So I began studying, not just Machiavelli, but history's most ruthless operators. I learned that betrayal is not the end. It's initiation, a violent baptism into the world of power. Everyone gets betrayed, but not everyone rises after. A rising startup founder once bragged about his loyal co-founders. Months later, those same co-founders ousted him in a boardroom coup. He went from CEO to exile in a single day. Sound brutal? It is. But it's also timeless. Machiavelli's principle plays out again. Appearances of loyalty are masks. Beneath them lies only shifting interest. Betrayal is a teacher. It strips you of illusions. It teaches that loyalty is conditional. Kindness must be armed. Trust without verification is suicide. This is the moment you either collapse into bitterness or sharpen into strategy. And this sharpening is where the transformation begins. You're in a team meeting. Your betrayer sits across from you, smiling, enjoying the power shift. Everyone is watching. Do you attack, revealing your anger? Pretend nothing happened, swallowing the poison? Or play the longer game, using patience and precision to rebuild and strike back? What would you do? This is where I stopped being Daniel, the invisible worker. This is where I became something else. The betrayal that nearly destroyed me forged me instead. Because in Machiavelli's world, power doesn't come from avoiding betrayal. It comes from mastering it, from turning it into fuel. And in part 5, I will show you exactly how. And no, not yet. The real lesson begins now. He who builds on the people builds on the mud. Niccolò Machiavelli. After the betrayal, I walked through weeks like a ghost. Every smile felt like a mask, every handshake a test. But one night, staring at the ceiling, I realized something. My life had been burned down, and that meant I had the chance to rebuild. Betrayal is fire. It destroys, yes, but it also clears the ground. And what you build next is no longer naive. It's fortified. That was the night I stopped asking, "Why me?" and started asking, "What next?" Here's the truth Machiavelli never sugarcoated. People will betray you if it serves them. Appearances will always matter more than reality. Comfort will seduce you into chains. Loyalty exists only when interests align. This isn't cynicism, it's clarity. When you accept it, you stop being shocked by betrayal. You stop waiting for fairness. You start preparing. Imagine you're offered a partnership with someone powerful, but their history is filled with betrayals. Do you trust them blindly, hoping you'll be different? Refuse. And lose the opportunity? Or accept, but set traps of your own, building leverage so you can't be discarded? What would you do? Machiavelli advised rulers to build fortresses, but not of stone alone. Fortresses of alliances,
of fear balanced with love, of appearances managed carefully. For you, that means information control. Don't reveal everything. Keep part of yourself unexposed. Leverage. Never rely on one source of income, one ally, one strategy. Have backup, appearances. Understand people believe what they see, not what is true. Craft your image. Reward and punish. Loyalty grows when rewarded. Betrayal withers when punished swiftly. These are your fortress walls. Picture yourself on a hilltop, building stone by stone. Below, rivals plot. Some climb with daggers, but from your fortress, you see them coming. You don't panic, you don't beg, you prepare. That is the difference between Daniel at the banquet and you after learning the Machiavellian way. Look at leaders who endured decades in brutal industries, politics, entertainment, business. They aren't always the most talented. They're the most strategic. They know when to flatter, when to strike, when to smile, while quietly cutting deals. They don't confuse appearances with reality. They wield appearances like weapons. Survivors aren't the ones who avoid battles. They're the ones who never walk into a battle unarmed. Suppose you discover someone in your circle is quietly undermining you, but they don't know you've found out. Do you attack immediately, exposing them, stay silent, enduring their sabotage, or pretend ignorance while setting them up for a public failure that removes them cleanly? What would you do? After my own betrayal, here's what I built: the circle test. If I share a secret, I share a small one first. If it leaks, I know exactly who betrayed me. The double exit plan. I never stay in a position where one betrayal could end me. I build alternatives before I need them. The mask. I stopped showing raw vulnerability to everyone. I reserve it only for the rare few who prove themselves over time. The sword behind the smile. I can be kind. I can be generous. But anyone who confuses that kindness for weakness will discover the sword hidden behind it. This is not paranoia. This is survival. I once wanted a world where people could be endlessly good and endlessly safe. But that world doesn't exist. What exists is this. People are driven by fear, greed, envy, ambition. And if you don't understand that, you will be their victim. Now, when I walk into a room, I don't just see people. I see interests, alignments, leverages, daggers hidden in smiles. And oddly, this clarity hasn't made me colder. It has made me freer. A friend asks for a big favor that could harm your career but save theirs. You sense if you refuse, they'll turn on you. Do you sacrifice yourself, hoping they'll stay loyal? Refuse and brace for their betrayal? Or negotiate, granting a smaller favor while quietly preparing in case they flip? What would you do? Here is the Machiavellian empowerment you must carry. Stop waiting for fairness. Build leverage. Stop assuming loyalty. Test it. Stop hiding behind kindness. Arm it. Stop fearing betrayal. Anticipate it. The world will not protect you, but with strategy, you can protect yourself. And once you learn to protect yourself, you can lead. Imagine a man once invisible, clapping while others stole his glory. He is gone. In his place stands someone new, armored not in naivety, but in knowledge. The banquet is over. The poison has burned away. What remains is steel. That can be you. Was Machiavelli ruthless or simply honest about human nature? The answer doesn't matter. What matters is whether you will remain Daniel or whether you will rise, armed and unafraid, into the ruthless clarity of power. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever been betrayed? Do you believe loyalty is real or only conditional? And if this resonated, subscribe. Because this is not the place for fairy tales. This is the place for the truth.